Welcome to Camp Helen State Park, located off of 98 just outside of Panama City Beach. As you can see from this sign here, the stable that we had just looked at, from ponies to pillows, horses once called this stable home. But when the Hicks family sold their property to the Avondale Mills, the horses and hay moved out, and the linens moved in. Camp Helen's guests made their own beds and picked up their linens at former stables where they were stored. The camp director also maintained an office here. That briefly now sits on top of the kitchen, once belonged to the stable. Next, as you can see, we'll pan through over to the water tower. So this water tower has withstood a lot. As you can see, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. The water tower rose 40 feet above the ground for over 60 years, which was built in the early 1940s before Avondale purchased the property. The Hicks family built this water tower and pump house in the 1930s to provide for additional water needs as guests came to stay in the Rainbow Cottages. Avondale Mills used the original pump and well for a time, but later dug in a new well and installed a new pump house on another part of the property. The tower and its christen, rising above the pump house, continue to serve as landmarks to Camp Helen. Like it said, it's withstood a lot over the last numerous years. So as you can see, this section resides just below or just behind the main house or the main lodge, as you'll learn a little bit about later on in this video. This is just panning through some of the parts of Camp Helen to give you an overall idea of what Camp Helen looks like. Some of the sections that we go into here are the colorful cottages. These colorful cottages were made by Margaret Hicks, who built the multicolored rainbow cottages and their matching paving tiles in the 1930s to help supply income to her family. These tiny houses continued to serve as guest quarters for Avondale Mills Camp Helen. Each cottage contains sleeping space for 2 to 4 people, a kitchen, and a bathroom, the smallest at 291 square feet. Was studio style with sleeping and living spaces combined. Cramped as it sounds, the cottages contained bunk beds, and by the 1958, guests could sleep on the newly added screened porch during the summer nights. So it was definitely a smaller quarters for most people. It wasn't something that the typical person would want to spend a day. This was the private home nowadays at Camp Helen. As you can see, this private home was a public retreat. Margaret Hicks purchased this property in the early 1930s and built the lodge in 1932. She intended it to be a private home, but the death of her husband and the hardship of the Great Depression forced Miss Hicks to open her property to paying guests who stayed in the newly built Rainbow Cottages. The lodge remained a private family retreat under Avondale Mills ownership. The lodge became a public space and a housing top-level management and other important guests. Today, it is the National Camp Helen State Park. As you can see, we travel out across the bay, which this would be Lake Powell, out towards the bay and into the ocean. So you can travel along with us as we walk out towards the ocean. caretaker cottage to lifeguard living. The caretaker's house, also known as Cottage Number 7, was first called home by the Hicks caretaker, Mr. William Airline. Camp Helen used the building to house the camp hostess and later installed bunk beds to board the lifeguards. The custodians who provided services to Avondale Mills employees vacationing here. The only public phone to Camp Helen located outside the caretaker's house, along with a vending machine. From fuel pumps to food lines, once the oldest buildings at Camp Helen, the kitchen prepared thousands of meals for Avondale Mills employees enjoying their summer vacations here. A bell in the belfry announced mealtimes, and the vacationers ate in dining rooms that once adjoined this building. Before Camp Helen, the kitchen possibly served as a general store and a gas station for guests visiting the Hicks property, and Camp Helen dining halls, no longer standing, was once attached to the back of the kitchen. I hope this video just gives you a little bit more about Camp Helen and gives you an idea that so many years ago this state park was a place for people to come and visit this wonderful area. And now, as you can see, it's a national park for all of us to visit and check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Thanks again for watching.